Muslim reading the Bible. Finished reading Genesis, and I already made a video with a summary of the book of Genesis, but this video is specifically about some doubts, concerns, and just thoughts that I had while reading the book. That is, starting to read Genesis, immediately the sense of like how it is written, the view of God, right? Assigning human attributes to God. God being regretful, jealous, even to the point where the humans are having arguments with God. Like God says, I'm going to destroy them all. And then the humans say, no, don't do that. And God says, okay, I won't do it. Like, who is the all-knowing? Who is more just? Who is more merciful? Because it's written as if it is people like superior to God. And that's just not the nature of God, right? So that's just really hard to digest. Then moving on, like some things. Like a thought that I had is that I find it really like hypocritical if people, specifically Christians and Jews, criticize Islam for things like polygamy and that there are things like sex slaves in the Quran, which is not the case, but that's a subject for a different video. The subject of the word malakat and manikum. We'll talk about that later, God willing. But specifically polygamy, because all throughout the Bible we see polygamy. Like, I don't know who's the first one, but for example, Abraham, married to Sarah, can't have children. Sarah offers her slave to Abraham as a wife, like, go sleep with her, and she has children. And then later, for example, pretty much all of them in Genesis, all the men have more than one wife, right? Jacob, who worked 7 years because he was in love with Rachel. But then on the wedding night, the father of Rachel slips into the bedroom. Her younger sister Leah, they sleep. Jacob sleeps with Leah, wakes up. Hey, this is not Rachel. What happened here? And then is angry with their no, I could not marry the second daughter before marrying the first daughter. So just work some more and you can have Rachel as well as a second wife. And then these wives are at war with each other on who is going to give Abraham more children. So they involve their slaves as well, and they all sleep with Jacob. So he's sleeping with 4 women who all bearing children. Like, it's just such a mess. And I am not judging. First of all, I don't know if this is true. Only God knows. So that's it. Different time, different everything. God knows. I don't have to worry about these things. End of story. But it's just like, before you come criticize something of someone else, first look inwards, right? Before you look outwards. That's just the message that I want to give. Then like an inconsistency that I saw is, we see in the story of Ishmael, Isaac, and like all of that Abraham has the vision where he sacrifices his son. But then it says to sacrifice your only son, Isaac. But Isaac was never an only son. He's a second son. Ishmael was an only son for about 14 years. So what happened there? And you can say, no, but he's the son of the covenant. Yeah, but which covenant specifically? Because there are many covenants in the Bible. Ishmael is also part of another covenant that is for all the descendants of Abraham. We know that Isaac is the covenant that would lead, like the prophethood would go through the generations that come after Isaac. We know that. But we see in the Bible that God recognizes Ishmael as a son. So why then, in this case, suddenly it would be ignored, right? Sacrifice your only son. Isaac was never alone. That's just, what else? Something that I almost forgot. The story of Lot in the Bible. We know that the messengers of God came to the people of Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah, because they were lusting after men instead of women and just covered in lust and even wants to violate the messengers of God. Yeah, so God rains stones on them and just destroys everything and everyone, except the family of Lot. But in the Bible, that is he himself and his 2 daughters. Now, when they arrive and they're hiding like in a cave, the daughters of Lot say, like, hey, there's no man anywhere anymore. even though it actually involves just one single like city, but okay, they say there's no men anywhere, so the bloodline of our father will go extinct. So what they decide, the two daughters of Lot, is, hey, we're going to get him drunk and we're going to sleep with him. You one night, me the other night, and we're going to bear his children. So yeah, you see the point? Like, like I say again, I don't know the truth, God knows, and I don't have to worry about none of that. But it's a lot to digest. But remember, the law has still not come down. That is with Moses. So that should put an end to all this wickedness, right? Okay, so the book of Genesis ends with the children of Israel being under oppression in Egypt, and then move on to Exodus, which, by the way, I already read the book of Exodus, but I wanted to finish talking about Genesis like for definitely before I move on to Exodus. So my next video will be about Exodus, God willing. Assalamu alaikum.